All right.
Good evening and welcome to the Battle Creek Public School Board of Education work session. Today is Monday, March 11th, 2024. It is 5:32. We will begin. We'll start with a roll call. Madam Secretary, could you call the roll, please?
Nathan Graycheck.
Here.
Art McClenny.
Present.
Alicia Johnson.
Present.
Nicole Perry.
Present.
Catherine LaValle. Here. Patty Pooper. Charlie Fulbright.
Here.
Charlie Cooper.
Thank you. Moving on to number 2, approval of the agenda, consideration of additions or deletions.
Vice President Fulbright,
Yes, Trustee LaValle?
I'd like to make an amendment to our agenda for its approval tonight on item number C in reports section. The funding source should be really sinking fund. And then I would make a motion to approve the rest of the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Trustee LaValle, seconded by Trustee McClenny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passed. Public comments. I'm still going to read my script though. The BCPS Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the community to express themselves on district matters. We have 2 opportunities on the agenda tonight for public comment. The Board of Education requests that you fill out a public participation form with contact information. As you come to the microphone, please state your name. Each statement made by a speaker shall be limited to a 3-minute duration. If the speaker represents a group, the person will be given 5 minutes to speak. BCPS Board of Education will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. Public commenters will direct all comments to the Board of Education and not to staff or other participants. Seeing we have no public comment, we will move on to reports and recommendations. Letter A, BCAMSC, Cedar Point trip.
Okay. I will be presenting that one on behalf of Dr. Magaji, who was caught on some flight delays. It is recommended that the board approve Battle Creek Area Math and Science Center returning their trip that they took prior to COVID. And they are taking the whole school to Cedar Point for Physics Day. This is a self-funded trip. All monies costs are covered by students, and there is no cost to the district or Battle Creek Area Math and Science Center. However, approval is needed as we will fiscally take in all of them, take in the funds and then help to distribute them to the businesses.
Is there any discussion? Okay, thank you. Next up, Black Boys and Men Symposium, Mr. Bish.
Good evening.
All right, so I'm here to recommend that the district sends 88 staff members to the 2024 Black Boys and Men Symposium in Grand Rapids through GVSU. We have on here with the total cost not to exceed $100,000 because as we are getting folks set up with hotels and such, if they fill up, we're not sure if they have to get a different hotel, if there's going to be some additional expenses with that. So this conference focuses on bringing partners together, identifying systemic barriers, sharing leading practices, and deconstructing and rebuilding systems to create conditions of success for Black boys and men in our school systems. So it is the recommendation that we where is it? There it is. It is a recommendation that we send 88 staff members June 14th to 16th to this conference. At a cost to exceed up to $100,000. Right now, we're anticipating about $1,000 per person based off the estimates that we have. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I could just be not understanding the table. But I'm confused. It says principal 621, right? And then central admin. What is the
Confused
count?
too.
I guess I don't get it.
What are we looking at?
The table where it says current count of participants. I get the total 88, but what are the column heading?
So where it says principals, that is 11 principals going. 5 from central office, 11 support staff, 6 behavior interventionists, 35 teachers.
Right, the totals I get, but what are the?
The
columns?
titles of the
Titles of the
columns.
columns.
Top.
Is
Like,
that
what
from
does the
different
6 mean and
schools,
what
or-
is the 2?
That is just the count going across. Sorry, that's how Wes put that together. So this was coming through a Google form. So the 6, 2, 1, and 2 add up to the 11.
So that was the number of people that responded to some sort of Google form that they wanted to go. Okay.
Sorry about that. And then the district transformation and student services, we didn't get an exact number by role. So district transformation team, Anita's team said they wanted 5 central office staff and 4 coaches to go. And then student services said 7 from the district and then 5 support staff from the schools. So we're anticipating that that's 88. There may be 1 or 2 overlap from the support staff too. That might have come through on one of the buildings that submitted, but we're not positive. I tried my best to double check and think there might have been 1 or 2 overlap and I did not include them.
I don't have a question, but I will say I've heard that this was one of the most impactful experiences offered to staff. So, good.
I wasn't able to attend last year and tried to get someone to come and speak on its behalf. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it today. I don't know if anyone here has been to it. Were you there?
I took the picture of us all on the stairwell. We were the best represented district there and everybody, I think just from the numbers who want to go again this year, including those who feel like they missed out, speaks volumes about the impact, because you never want to go to some place that wasn't valuable again. And we had a number of people that would like to go again, so,
I think we had 77 attend last year.
yeah.
So
That's cool. Yeah.
this year, and I know that there is a school has a team that wants to send folks that didn't get into this camp, so that is also where we kind of try to play underneath $100,000. We might have a couple of triplets.
So this is not just new, it's also reoccurring participants from years before.
Yes.
And we do have the high school, as an FYI, the high school is a presenter. They're gonna present on some of the work that they've been doing. I think WK was thinking about presenting, but yeah, so it has been impactful.
It sounds exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to letter C, the CW Post Stadium fence installation, and Mr. Granger.
Thanks for letting me speak to you. Much less impactful than the symposium. There's a request to install a fence around the north lot of the parking lot for CW Post Stadium. It's dual purpose. The first issue that we're trying to solve is we've been hosted track meet several years, as you know. And this year, not only are we hosting them, but we're hosting 2 really big ones. We have the SMAC conference track meet, which will bring in thousands of people to our facility, and the all city track meet, which may have just as many. We don't have a way currently to move spectators from the visitor side, where the finish line is, to the home side, where the bathrooms are, and the concession stands. Void of them walking on the track, which is not going to be an option for a track meet. So what we're trying to do is create a way to move people from one side to the other without having to exit the facility. So we'd like to fence in that lot so that we can open that lot for traffic, go around the north side of the track to get to the other side. And so the second purpose would be, we have district vehicles that we store in the south lot of the stadium, which aren't protected. And we have, just in my short time as athletic director, have spent a few $1,000s replacing things like catalytic converters that have to get cut off of those. And if they're not that open lot, so we have started parking them at times inside the concourse of the stadium to protect them. But with spring sports going on, that's not gonna be an option for that either, so, long term. Obviously, especially as we replace some of those vehicles, it gets more important that we protect them, so. Those are the two purposes, we have two quotes from local companies, DK Fencing and Justice Fence. Justice Fence was the lower of the two at $11,700, so we'd like to ask to use sinking funds in the amount of $11,700 to install that fence. I'll open that up for traffic there. That's what it comes.
Your questions, do you think the fence, once approved by the board, would be ready for those two big track events?
I do, yeah, April 19th is the All City.
Uh-huh.
Our target is to have it installed by.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm struggling to envision this right now. So right now, there is a fence that goes around the whole football field. So we're gonna remove the one, you can't see this picture I'm looking at, but there's a yellow line on this picture that outlines a lot that you wanna have. Isn't there a fence like there? So we're gonna remove that one that's,
It'll stay
I
there.
guess, okay,
It would cost us more money to try and remove it.
Okay.
So we're just gonna keep it there. It
Got it.
doesn't really hurt anything to have it. There's a.
no,
On the far north end of that fence, there's a gate for the ambulance to pass through. So that's what we would ultimately end up opening up as people move through that.
Okay.
They would go through that fence and around the north side of the track.
so they're walking on the grass
Mhm.
in that back part. Are we gonna think about putting like a
Walk.
this is an old picture. So yeah, we're gonna think about putting like a walkway or something in there eventually.
Yeah, it would be too greedy, but that would be the. A long-term vision is to have some sort of a formal passageway up through that space. We're gonna have to install some sort of temporary fencing
Mhm.
for the meets, so that people aren't wandering.
Right, onto the track,
Into the track
yeah.
while people are trying to run. So in addition to this, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to have like a snow fence around the edge of the
Mhm.
track. To keep people off of it too, so,
Mhm.
you know.
Including the athletes, you gotta make sure you bring them in certain areas for warm-ups and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you know, I actually met with, Port Central has hosted this meet for the last several years. And I've met with them just to try and figure out how best to manage traffic. So this initially was a suggestion made by them, but also so was keeping people off the infield and off the track. So I do have to figure that out. I didn't think it was realistic though to install a permanent fence in that space.
Right.
So especially because our athletic trainer has to pass through that with her cart
Mhm.
to get to the fields over there, so it can't be permanent there. But I'm gonna have to figure something out.
And the goal is like for concession stands, you were saying?
Our concession stands are both on the home side of the,
We don't have the one
Stadium.
on the visitor side anymore, or is it in bad shape?
it's condemned.
Okay,
We have a trailer that we can park over there, we do
Yeah.
park over there that we can use, but it's not a full service trailer like the
Right.
concession stand on the other side are, so. Hot dogs and, anything that's cooked has to be cooked on the home side of the bleachers. And honestly, concession stand isn't even my biggest concern. My biggest concern is the bathroom facility.
oh, okay,
The visitor side of the bleachers. Has just 2 female stalls and just one with a urinal for the male bathroom, so. When you have 4,000 people in attendance, they
Yeah.
have to go to the bathroom for the other side.
oh, okay.
One other
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
I know you said it's a long-term vision, the walkway. Have we gotten a quote just to get an idea of the cost so we can begin to plan?
I have not. I'm just, if I'm being honest with you, I haven't done that, because I'm not sure that's the best solution to the
Gotcha,
problem.
okay.
Mhm.
I think that if we install this fence, it gives us a temporary solution, it also gives us a way to store. The food service has 3 vehicles that are relatively new vans,
Mhm.
and then we have our athletic vans. And it gives us a place to store all that stuff and have it behind a locked gate.
Yeah.
Even if a pathway through the north side of the end zone isn't the permanent solution for traffic. I don't know if there is another option, but I don't know that it's.
Fixing the stands on the other side.
What that-
Fixing the stands on the other side is probably the solution, but
there's
you
a
gotta
lot
price
of
that.
easy ways to-
Yeah.
the ball through.
Yeah, I say, I was listening, you're beating around the bush, we need to be, the other side is what you're saying, we need to tear down. Update that whole side, let's not beat around the bush. That's what I'm saying, I'm just saying.
I don't think it needs to be torn down personally, but I do think it needs a lot, it needs some tuck pointing.
It needs
concrete work.
investment.
Yeah,
It needs some investment, it
let's
needs,
just,
yeah.
It needs renovation.
you think,
Cause I didn't know it was condemned.
yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't either.
it's been boarded up for
it's the same. I mean,
probably 10 years.
Oh, I'm sure it's the same when I was running.
It's
okay.
been 10 years.
That-
I've never
that's-
known it to be open. Okay.
It's been 8 years since it was dragging.
Okay.
We haven't used concession stand.
Just one comment. I'm just so pleased that we can protect our vehicles. And I know of a daughter that thinks that's an excellent idea.
I know what the.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled with walking across the grass, I guess that's old man syndrome, because
Yeah.
eventually. You're gonna have that path, because you got this beautiful field, now all of a sudden you got this, so I'm not thrilled with that, but I do understand.
Yeah,
Yeah, for immediate, he needs a solution in a month, but yeah, for longer term.
It sounds like, great fix for now, but
I
love,
think-
love to see the long-term vision for sure.
yeah, I think, if y'all don't agree that this is a good use of the money. I think there's a way that we can open up the fence that you talked about that's existing. And try to make that path just a little bit longer from the edge of the stadium across that, around that grass. That just means a longer path for our temporary fencing. But also I just, that it doesn't solve our problem with protecting the vehicles.
You're right, and that's the better thing, yeah.
So this is a good phase one,
Yeah,
but we need to be thinking about phase
Yeah.
two at the same
the
time.
catalytic converters alone, every time it gets stolen, costs like $2,000.
It's a lot.
So 11,000 investment is a.
That's minor.
Yeah.
Especially,
And we can have our.
it's only worth $1,000, it's kind of crazy, $2,000 to fix them, but it's all we got.
Later.
All right.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
I didn't
you.
have a comment, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
excited that we'll have All City as well as the SMAC championships.
I second
I'll
that.
be there, able to help in whatever way.
Yeah, all right, just signed you up.
Write it down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's great.
thanks, guys.
Okay, moving on to discussion. A, BCPS Board of Education Governance Guidelines and Practices. Dr. Carter.
Reviewing section 3.0. So, we'll let our trustees get, acclimated here and then we'll start with 3.1.
You forgot.
I'm gonna eyeball it, quick, figure it out.
Vice President Fulbright.
Yes, trustee LaValle?
On the first page of 3.0 of communication, I didn't have any additions or deletions that I thought was needed. But I do have some on the upcoming pages.
Okay, I was, just trying to get to President Paul Gray. She just asked about round the horn voting, which is actually in Open Meetings Act. But I'm trying to, it is a concept that is defined in the Open Meetings Act. I was trying to pull it up.
If they go on the phone, you can call everyone. Right?
A round the horn. If we
Does it
want to
say
go
what
on
page?
to. It's the very first, it's in A.
Oh, I guess I took that as just having conversations outside an open or one of our meetings.
Yes. Essentially, that's what it means, and going around, it's like going around and calling people to get their thoughts and ideas. Okay.
So did she want to
No,
include
she just
that?
asked the simple question, what is that?
Oh, okay.
Well, once we get the definition, we should add that in there,
Okay.
because otherwise I tried to Google it and I keep getting the ESPN show. So we want to have the real definition just in there, so we won't always be like, what does that mean?
Right,
Agreed.
agree.
But it wouldn't come up round the horn voting?
No, it just keeps giving me the ESPN show round one.
I will get that and then.
I found it. Put it in quotes. It is.
Okay.
Further down on 3.1.3.
Yep.
President Polgray asked about A and B. Should communicate with each other so they will not be on the same page when responding to the media. So if we want to look at A and B,
So
Sorry,
that's,
3 point what?
3.1.3,
that's on the backside.
A and B.
Three point one point three, A and B.
I just appreciated those statements because I could remember as a new school board member that the media pounced on individual board members when we were closing the school. And that wasn't really clarified to me that I should wait for the board president to say something. We had a very aggressive, one of the local media stations wanting to kind of take comments from individual board members. And I like how that really spells it out that the board president will be the spokesperson of the board.
Well, I think President Polgray just wanted to reiterate that the superintendent and the board president should communicate before communicating to the media because they may not be on the same page and we want to show a united front when we do communicate. So
I'm writing, every effort shall be made to ensure that the superintendent and board president have communicated with each other
Sounds good.
when responding to media, something like that.
Prior to.
Prior to.
Yeah,
Can we do it better?
we had discussed this way before. And I guess I didn't understand what Catherine was saying, but this was not to shut down. And that was a conversation that we had a long time ago. The board president shall be the spokesperson for the board. That is all, since I've been here, my understanding has always been there. However, there was conversation in the past that said, which we had some debate, it didn't mean that you could not talk. I know when I served as board president, we are not trying to shut down anyone. We just wanted to make sure that we had the message.
Yeah.
That was
I think-
clear and concise,
Mhm.
but that was not to shut down any board member, and I think that needs to be said.
I think letter D it makes it pretty clear and,
That's ND.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Sounds good.
okay, moving on to 3.1.4.
I'm sorry, did we miss, trustee LaValle, did you have something before 3.1.4? Okay, I thought I missed
Nope.
it. I was trying to make sure I get the notes.
Sounds good.
Okay, did anyone have anything on 3.1.4? President Polgray just expressed clear explanation. I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts on that are.
Did she want something changed on those three items?
No, or maybe
No, I
just,
think she's saying that that's clear.
Okay.
Okay, which one are we on?
3.1.4.
And I will say, I left my notes at home because I thought I threw my notes in my bag before I left for work this morning. I did not, so I'll just email. I don't have super major changes. I just don't remember what they were.
So I feel like 3.1.4. Hold on. Let me make sure I got it right. 3.1.2 replicated or just sounds similar to 1.3.1.2. That section, and it could just, I don't know that it's an issue as much of, just making sure that it's consistent.
Say those numbers again.
1.3.2, so in 1.3.2, we talk about the board's communication or how we deal with issues with employees and the community, and I think that's, so I'm looking to make sure. Like if you look at 1.3.2.4 C, it talks about communication with employees. So the entire section is about professional conduct, and then I feel like 3 point, like that. Um, 3.1.2. So 1A, I feel like that shouldn't be part of, that should just be a summary to me, like that. I don't think there should be an A for it. It's basically saying what we see here, we need to strict adherence, and then, right, start the,
I would agree with that and just move down to a new B would be
Mhm.
A,
yes, yeah,
and then C would be B. D
So
would be
remove
C.
A.
Yeah,
yeah, and just let it stand alone as like a intro to that
But
section.
leave it there, just
Leave
take
it
the
there,
letter
but
off.
take the letter, off,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
What are we talking about? 3.1.4?
3.312.
3.1.2,
Yes, on page 22.
no, 21.
22 or 21? 22.
21.
Electronically, it's 22. Hard
Okay,
copy, it
'cause
might
I'm like,
be.
it's 20, okay.
Oh, yeah,
A,
it's showing to me.
B, and then C.
So
Okay.
you said for 3.1.2, remove A,
Just remove
Just
the
a letter.
the
letter.
letter A?
Just remove the letter, yep. And then the B, I feel like we've already said that in here, I guess is what I'm trying to say, like.
The actual B,
Remember our
Bill B?
discussion last time, yep, letter B. We
You're
had
saying
a
that's what's 1.3.2?
3.1.2 B, yep,
Mhm.
that. And I was trying to find which one, where it was, but we had a discussion
It's
last
page,
time.
it's
It was
page
1.3.
11.
Okay. That we just follow the chain of command.
Yes. If board members are contacted by employees with complaints, the employee shall be instructed to contact the superintendent or their immediate supervisor. No board member may threaten or retaliate. That's about interaction with employees. This is about just communication in general,
Okay,
Mhm.
right?
So it needs to be said again, because this
Yeah.
is talking about community and employees, parents, students, community members.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with us just reiterating.
gotcha.
I agree with
Make,
that.
I'm saying, let's make sure it's consistent, because I couldn't find it originally.
It was in 1.3.2, like you said. But yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
consistent with 3.1.2. B.
So then are we okay to talk about 3.2?
That's where I wanted to see liaisons. I don't view us as liaisons.
Okay.
And I don't know if when we visit our buildings, it's just, we are assigned to individual buildings, at least 2 of them, to kind of spread out the ability to be, available for visits.
I ain't feeling that term liaison. I'm not feeling that at all. Because we're
School
not-
assignments, school, What do you want to call this?
Is there a synonym for that liaison that's different?
I don't know that we want to send them for, because liaison, we're not serving as liaisons, we're just,
Representative.
Ambassador?
That'd be
I told
okay.
you my head hurt.
We are whole TV.
Liaison.
It's not a liaison.
They're more involved.
Yeah.
Well, they're,
We got
we're-
liaison.
that would mean we are advocating to, for
Right.
the school to whoever, and we're not doing
We're
that.
not liaison.
And we're like a go-between. which is-
Connection?
Because
Yeah,
we're supposed to redirect.
School
to the
connections?
hierarchy
right.
if
Yeah.
There's an issue like
School
that.
connections?
Or
Where did we?
Alicia had said representatives.
Representatives, I mean.
Oh, there we go, representatives. Can we use that word?
What have we been called?
I think
Been
it's
here.
time.
School
It just
assignment?
said your assignment.
Right.
So I'm gonna throw a
Ambassador might
curveball.
work.
Do we even need this section? And here's my rebuttal why. Because I'm reading through the 3.2.2. All of that stuff we don't do. I don't make an appointment before visiting a school if I wanna visit.
Right,
I don't refer concerns to the appropriate staff and. Like, I mean, there's a lot in here that I just don't think we do. I don't even know. And
I
maybe
would-
just changing the verbiage would make it better, but.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I feel like our school assignment's always been less formal and more just like, I don't know what the word is, like.
welcoming.
informal?
welcoming.
So, it does need to be in a procedure for, if it's sort of just a tradition,
Well, but
or is it? I don't know.
I want to push back because when a new person comes
That
on,
was a-
we need to describe what is the purpose of us assigning
That's
you
fair.
to a school.
That's
Right.
Just
Right.
So here's what when we assign you to a school, we do expect that some of these things are happening. And I have administrators who are hurt when this doesn't happen because Post Franklin has somebody who's always showing up and another school doesn't. So let's talk about what do we expect
Mhm.
from the assignments as a board.
I would add to trustee Fulbright's comment, I didn't want to see F and D, certainly not making an appointment ahead of time. G, it represents the board at school events and official functions. I just don't see us doing that. We just go because we want to be there.
So can we start with A? Are we okay with A though?
Shouldn't it be two?
Probably
instead
should be
of
two.
one? 'Cause right now we're doing two. Every 2
Right.
years we,
So I would change that to two.
Okay,
I
so.
want 3.2.2.
yes.
Yep, protocols.
I thought you were talking about 3.2.
Y'all lost.
I was confused.
We had 3-2.
Okay.
Yeah, let's define the goals first.
Where we at?
Okay.
That's why I was like, I thought we were on.
Where it
Okay.
says
So first,
school liaisons,
term.
we're gonna
We're
say
not gonna be
school,
liaisons.
right? We're gonna be representatives. Is that the word we
The
want?
title of this section is school representatives, okay?
Okay.
Then I went down to 3.2.1. The primary goals of a representative are to facilitate and enhance communication. I would hope we agree with that.
Mhm.
By going to after-school events, functions, answering questions, sharing information, encouraging communication. Okay, then it also provides each board member the opportunity to learn about the strengths and needs of a building.
Yep,
That's perfect. And then we go down to protocols of a representative,
Okay.
okay?
thank you.
The representative, so wherever we see the word liaison, I will
Put a
change to
representative.
representative. But the representative serves 2 years, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Calendar years? Okay. I think B is appropriate,
Mhm.
C is appropriate,
Yep,
but D. Nobody
I don't
makes
think-
appointments. Oh,
don't like that.
appointment. Can we just scratch D?
Well,
So,
one of the
I'm gonna
next,
You
push-
need to check in.
Yeah. that's-
Oh,
that's
and sign the
exactly where I'm
visitors
going.
log.
Okay,
You
just
roll up in
the
there.
first sentence can go,
First sentence.
but the second sentence, okay,
Correct. Yep.
stays.
Just check in with office staff, that's good.
Yep, sign in, check in, whatever you gotta do, yeah.
Because we've had, I mean, you just popping in, having a problem, that could become a problem within itself. You should check in. I think.
You
that's
absolutely
protocol.
should check.
That's showing respect.
Yeah, because that, yeah, definitely.
Okay,
In E, I thought this was a wordy statement.
Representative.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Regardless, so you need to sign.
I don't quite understand that one at all. Like, you should go to your principal and, but here's how to get to the superintendent.
Right.
that's how you read that
Well,
one?
I,
Okay,
That's what it says.
I don't know what
Mhm.
individuals or groups are talking about. Are they talking about
Uh,
within the?
we can
school?
just remove E.
Yeah,
Is it-
it is.
okay.
it's vague.
Just take it out.
So I'm
That's good.
removing E, leaving F, G, H, and then re.
was the example of information that the board member would tell a school as opposed to like what is being disseminated from central office. I'm not sure what.
What letter is that?
F.
Yeah,
I don't see us doing that either.
What?
We were gonna take out F.
You said E.
no.
No,
I
we took
said
out
E.
E. We didn't take out F. I think of F as like if you're on a PTO meeting or something and they.
I think of F as you know that listening tours are coming. So, hey, don't forget that your superintendent's gonna be around for listening tours. Make sure you make your voice heard. You might hear here at the board meeting that zero-based budgeting is launching. And so as a liaison to that school, we value your voice. So please make sure that you know that you're part of the zero-based budgeting process.
Okay. Yep.
Those are examples of my opinion.
Well, then I would write those in there as it's
It's not-
examples.
No,
It's
that-
not all encompassing. There could be other things.
Well, you could say et cetera too, but I think that really spells it out nicely that we're just giving that information of listening tours, upcoming zero-base budgeting happening soon. Make sure you're able to be heard or
If you're gonna do that, why don't you just say events?
Maybe we just say that may impact them as discussed in the board meeting and because we'll have,
Right.
it should be something that was on our agenda,
Yeah,
right? We don't want to be sharing stuff that's
Right.
not,
Right.
so that way they will direct you, because what ZBB and all that stuff will be on there, so.
yeah.
Excuse me, zero-based budgeting, that's the term we use it.
Have been discussed.
so what's it gonna read like?
So I wrote, the representative provides information to individuals or school groups regarding items or issues that may have been discussed in board meetings.
Okay.
Okay,
You okay to move on to 3.3?
What'd we do with G and H?
We kept them.
Can you say that again about item, say.
the representative provides information to individuals or school groups regarding items or issues that have been discussed in board meetings.
But I see with G, can we take off the word as invited? Because we're free to attend as many things as possible. It's your choice to what you would like to be visible at.
I was thinking, my mind was thinking about contractual issues. Those type of issues. I don't,
I think the spirit of F is just being them seeing you as a communicator. That's the spirit of it, not to talk about what's working, what's not working, what's operational. So if that's not clear in this, is there another way to say it? You get what I'm saying?
I like the way you put it, but I can see that being
Mhm.
said.
So an example, being a newer board member. There are parent-teacher conferences and part of me is like kind of interested. I'm like, I don't know if that's appropriate for a board member to be there, you know what I mean? Just to see engagement, to see, so I think it would be helpful to know what sort of, I don't know how we define that here, and perhaps it's just you reach out, you ask, right? But as invited or as, I don't know, so I think.
I think anything discussed at the board table is public knowledge, so we should be allowed to talk about it, and if it's not, it's closed session where we can't talk about it anyways. So anything that we talk about here in an open meeting, I think is fair game, because anyone can just go to YouTube and listen to our discussion on whatever topic it is.
But that's not necessarily true, because we can have we can be in an open meeting and have a contract, and we can be voting on a contract, something that we talked about in closed session, and people will come with the question, well, why did you vote on this contract and what was said?
And we couldn't talk about it because it's a closed session.
But I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
See where I'm going?
Hmm.
So they say, well, it was in open session, so you should be able to talk about it.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, we can't, because we're in closed session. I'm just taking only because we've seen some of the extremes. And I don't want to belabor it, but I'm just saying. We've seen.
What are we talking about now? Are we still
F,
on G?
we're on F.
It's number F.
I
We're
was
still
like,
trying- We're still trying
as
to come to
invited or
consensus.
as,
Yeah.
You said F?
as appropriate, maybe we just.
Common sense. Right, Charlie. But we've seen those situations. And I don't want to belabor this point, so.
So we rejecting the language you just said?
I'm
we're
not
discussing it?
necessarily rejecting it, I'm
Oh,
just saying. It's kind of a blank statement, but it leaves room for people to say, well, you discussed this in open session, even though we had a meeting, it could be about.
Who are people?
Uh,
Because this is us communicating to the PTO, right? So are you saying somebody
Um,
will come ask us about something?
It could be-
Or are you afraid
it
of
could
a
be-
board?
No, it could be the community, it could be the staff,
Mhm.
teachers, those type of situations.
And what I hear you saying, trustee McClenny, is people want details about
Yes.
why you cast your vote.
Absolutely. The statement, you can leave it, I'm just putting that out there.
Let's put this down and then we have a final review so that people can sit with it for a moment to make sure that we
Let's
do
start
have
by it.
consensus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to
So-
belabor anything, you know.
Yeah.
Trying.
Thank you.
So for G, I have the representative represents the board at school events and official functions, period. And then H is the liaison communicates board policies and actions as requested.
The representative.
The representative, yep, all
Okay.
these are in representative, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I have 3.3,
Let's go.
and this is actually trying to put some structure to communications.
Escalation protocols.
President Paul Gray wanted to add under 3.3A3, add talking points.
A3. I don't understand that.
Underneath crisis and
Right.
What did she
emergency.
say?
Emergency.
Add
Is that what
talking
you're talking
points.
about, Sharon?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, like
Where it
what we
says
should,
email, phone calls, or text to each board member.
Mhm.
Oh,
So maybe put in there
Talking points
talking
will be
points.
given.
So then we're
so
all,
add a D where it says A, B, because this is for crisis emergency,
Mhm.
A, B, C, and then D would be where applicable, talking points will be provided.
yeah,
Okay,
From the-
That's-
is there ever a time that we need talking points or do
Yes.
everything?
Oh,
get
yes,
Yeah.
Handled
yes.
through, I thought media was
Most-
handled by,
right.
No, talking points can be our
Or,
I mean, if someone puts you in the grocery
Right,
store, I
right.
mean, have to have a phrase at least, sometimes it's helpful.
Remember,
Well, there have been times where we've done, let's say we launched the Bearcat Advantage.
yeah,
So we put together talking points for
Gotcha.
all board members so that it's not necessarily crisis emergency,
I see.
but does,
So
so
just
does it,
generally,
right.
there are things to, okay.
so that you have all the your FAQs basically.
And it's
Uh-huh.
really helpful that we all are consistent and on the same page.
Right.
But that's not what that.
That's not what this is though. So,
Because for what I'm reading, if it's a crisis or
Yeah.
emergency, you're letting us know, but we're not supposed to be talking to the media. And I would assume nobody else in general. So the president, we already had it earlier in here, the president does that.
mhm.
So can we add a number 4
but
Just
again,
talking point?
we are not per se, and I'm gonna keep hammering this. But we do let the board president and the superintendent handle this.
Mhm.
But that does not mean you or I as a person, because you're going to get asked questions. And I see where Patty was going, saying we need those talking points from those two when we do. The talking points could be short
Mhm.
and say, hey, blah, 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 we direct you back to the superintendent and the board. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, it's somebody's going to approach you and say,
Yeah, but I think our response is
Yeah,
official
talk
comment,
to-
because if you give me them talking points and I say them about like, this is just me talking, people are gonna be like, she's on the board, she's
Yeah.
speaking for the board. So I don't think we should be making, because that would be contradicting what we said earlier. The president has to give those points to the media or whatever. So I would say we are not supposed to be giving any emphasis to anybody. Our talking point is to redirect them to the superintendent or the president.
So like if they have a question about Bearcat Advantage, just for example, it's a high profile communication, but it's not a crisis or something negative. Would something like that be applicable under this section,
Mhm.
communications with board members?
I was thinking that after listening to you guys, it's not part of 1, 2, or 3. If you notice, it's A regarding the
Right, so should it be a
communication.
D?
It's a D. D,
Mhm.
where applicable, talking points will be provided to the board
Gotcha.
to aid communication.
Yep.
Make sure, okay. There we go. It's not about crisis.
Mhm.
It's just about making
Just
sure you have
general
information.
information.
Yeah,
So you're just gonna make it a 4.
I made it a D.
Oh.
D, A, B, C, and then the last one, letter D. So after that. so-
Yeah.
And I'll put it
3D.
in red. Yes, it'll be 3.3 D.
Okay.
Okay, all right. One section at a time.
Anything on B or C, where we're still in 3.3 from anybody?
B, did we want to add our phone numbers? Because I know Charlie, you had suggested that.
whose phone number?
So I
You
did
mean our cell phone
email,
number?
Not
He
in
did.
the document. but to share
no,
with each
right,
other.
because I know, like, I put that in my email for my updates
Mhm.
or whatever, because I think I know 3 people's cell phone numbers, so if I ever have a thing that I need to contact them, and I email them and they don't check their email for 2 days, it'd be a lot easier to call or text. But I don't know, I don't have any. I think we all should share each other's phone numbers.
Yeah.
With each other.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Outside of this document.
Yeah, not published.
Even though our numbers technically are supposed to be public.
But where do we put that in this document? that we
Not in the
shared?
document.
No,
No.
so this will not be.
But I
public.
took it as you wanted that in the document.
no, no,
so-
no.
Okay,
So when we adjourn, we'll get each other's phone numbers.
okay.
I think Coeta already has a contact.
Okay, so maybe you could,
Yeah.
no, she doesn't.
No, I must have had it before, but okay,
Somebody has-
somebody has it. Okay.
Kim was
There is one, because they had the address, phone
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah,
She
Okay.
had all contacts.
Sometimes she would text me and I'd be like, who's this? Like,
Yeah.
you know, every once in a while, I'll be, I think this is a phishing. I thought
Yes.
it was like, Kim needs a what? I was like, this is a phishing text. But then it really was Tammy.
all right.
So will someone get the numbers to each,
Yep.
all of us, and perfect.
I might not want you now.
I already have your phone number.
I think it's good,
Maria.
it's good to have it centrally deposited with the
Right.
secretary,
Right.
and then we can use that. Yeah, it's not one person's all keeping it.
So one for. oh, no. The one about C,
Which one?
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't that go with the, same section, letter C? Shouldn't that go up where we talk about the board agenda and the. I mean, I know this is about communication, but it feels like, it's more about the agenda. And the flow of the meetings and meeting materials. I was in,
It would go right after, I'm with you, where it says like, it shall be posted by 4 o'clock on
yes,
Thursday, then right after that, if you
if you
see
see
any.
anything missing,
Yeah. I don't remember where that is, but we can definitely, I would agree with that. Is everybody else okay?
That B and C? Yep,
no, just
Yeah,
see.
move
Just
to
see.
agenda.
thank you.
Okay.
Before we end this topic, I did have, sorry, jumping back to 3.1.2
Mhm.
C. Does that, I just want to get a grasp on understanding letter C. I know a lot of us have family or whoever working for the district. So how does C work into that?
Where
Like,
does
what do you,
that? 312.
312 C. The board member should not become individually or personally involved. Like, how do you?
But
No.
that's in our board policy
That's in
that
the-
says
that's-
where you have to abstain from your vote and you mention
right.
that abstention before we take a particular vote,
Perfect.
maybe on a contract.
I don't think that's what this section is talking about. This section is talking about, responding to community. So I'm thinking that if somebody comes up to you like with a passionate plea about something, when you said school closing, you're not supposed to be like personally arguing with the person about it, right? You're keeping it
Mhm.
neutral and this is what the decision, we make our decision as a whole, that type of thing. I
Yeah.
thought that's what that was referring to. I could be wrong.
Now we all have spouses and all
Yeah,
kinds.
I
Right.
think you're right.
It's real, that is
Yeah,
the point
that's-
of that one, is just to not become personal. Like somebody comes to you and says, I am having a housing crisis, or something at school, and you take that on personally.
Right.
Mhm.
In this role, we're asking you not to do that.
Copy that. Okay.
I will say, to that point of it, when we talk about conflict of interest, as a parent, sometimes I find myself having to, and I wonder if we need to just articulate this somewhere. But when I'm serving in a different role, and I haven't had this happen, but I might have a negative thought about an employee and as a board member, right? And I know that's in here in terms of our guidelines where we're never to say anything negative about an experience. But if I'm a parent and I'm wearing a parent hat, you know what I mean? So I think it would be helpful to articulate when you have that really personal conflict of interest and something happens that involves a family member and how you handle that, of course, professionally and delicately, but I also don't want to be real.
I know just personally, something for me that I've done over my time on the board is when someone really personal to me, a friend or family member or whoever, comes up to me with a problem, I always suggest them coming to the board meeting and using public comment, because then the whole board will know, the administration will know, and we can get back with them and it's not, because I can't do any, like, I always tell them to come to the board meetings. And you have 3 minutes.
That's the response, John.
Yeah.
I told you that too. That's the response.
Yep.
Okay, any more
But I
on this?
think was your question more related to like, if you have a child in school, you might have an issue with a specific teacher and you want it, not you, I shouldn't say you, so.
No, but
Any parent that's
yep.
on the board must be careful about
Yes.
the comments you're making, because you're not just a parent, right? Even though you have that.
And be clear when we're representing, so like even and we were very clear in that process, but there was a committee that there's a parent representative, not a board representative. So just to think about like our conflict of interest. When we tease, it would be helpful to tease out I'm gonna have a different perspective as a parent than I might as a board member.
Sure.
I would push back on that
Mhm,
from experience. Cause I've been in that
Mhm.
situation,
mhm.
but you are still a
Mhm.
board member.
Definitely,
regardless.
Mhm.
yes,
And
I liken it to the same comment I have with central office administrators that have kids in school.
yeah,
That you are never not a central
right,
office
for sure,
administrator.
right,
But you just have to be clear about, I'm speaking from my parent point of
Right.
view.
yes,
But people are always gonna see you as a central office
Yes.
administrator, even when you walk into the school to talk about your child.
yes. So like if I have a concern about a policy,
Yep.
as a board member, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the board, but as a parent, I might want to weigh in on how that affects me and my family personally, right? So I think, yes, we just have to be clear.
I think you're offering a better suggestion. Just make sure that we can do better for the community.
Yeah.
But trustee McClenny's right. The board member role, it
always.
has to be it at the time.
and you can. This is, like I said, my opinion is I don't believe in shutting anybody down.
Yeah.
But you are a board member, but you
Mhm.
do you have a bigger voice here.
Yeah,
To voice things, and there are different ways to handle things.
yeah,
I'll just give an example. It was a long time ago. My daughter had an issue. And I was pretty upset, so I put it in writing
Mhm.
and sent it to the chain.
right,
So there are ways to
Right.
handle it, but
yes,
because of me being on the board, I knew I couldn't respond in the parent way.
right,
So there
right,
are ways you can handle those types.
yes,
But you are still,
yeah,
people gonna
oh
say,
yeah, most
that's
definitely.
the board.
Yeah.
So that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Be thoughtful about how you handle that. Just, you don't wanna
Yes.
make-
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think it's.
And you can always have your kid come to speak in public comment.
If I may have expressed some frustration about the half days. Right.
You
You have to be
you
careful
just gave
about
an
where I do
example.
that and, you know.
My daughter came and spoke in public comment. I didn't agree with her, but she let everybody know. So there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
So for our next meeting next Monday, we're gonna look at 4.0.
Correct.
Because remember, we have our spring break coming up, so this is back-to-back Mondays for meetings.
So our homework is to review 4.0
Thank you.
and bring your thoughts and ideas. Great conversation, everybody. Okay, moving on to letter B. Framework for review of conviction records related to third-party service providers. Trustee Perry.
Yes, so I'm speaking for the policy review committee. And we created a framework around how we're gonna look at conviction records when it comes to the volunteers or third-party service providers within our building. We thought it was important to make a framework for it and then also remove names off of it because we want it to be unbiased review and we want it to be consistent review. So this document that you all received in your packet is our thoughts around that. So policy review committee, as you know, is trustee LaValle and trustee McClenny and myself, along with the folks in central office that we work with, right? But we want to make sure the whole board looks at this, gives it thoughts, and if we all agree on this, or majority agrees on this, this will be the framework that we use as a policy committee when somebody needs that secondary review, because it's not the district having to make that decision. They escalate it to us, and then we review as a committee and then vote. So I can read through it if you all think that's easier. I know everybody here can read, but I just want to have.
If we could do for the community, the first paragraph, I think that's pretty impactful.
The point. So we have at BCPS, we believe in the transformative power of second chances. We recognize that individuals may have made mistakes in the past, but we also believe in the potential for growth, redemption, and positive contributions to our community. In alignment with our equity imperative, we are committed to providing opportunities for individuals seeking to volunteer within our school as long as it does not jeopardize the safety and well-being of our students, which remains our utmost priority. To this end, certain offenses will be reviewed by the Board Policy Committee on a case-by-case basis using the following criteria. So our parameters for decision-making, we have 4. The first one being the nature and severity of past offenses. So we will evaluate the nature and severity of the past offenses in relation to the responsibilities and interactions required for the volunteer position and third-party service provider. Certain offenses are serious enough to require policy committee review regardless of when they occurred. These offenses include, but are not limited to violent crimes and/or any related felony conviction, such as murder, homicide, manslaughter, weapons-related offenses. Certain offenses occurring within 7 years will also require policy committee review. These include, but are not limited to assault, battery, domestic violence, distribution, and selling of drugs. Secondly, we'll look at the length of time since the offense. So the length of time since the offense occurred will be taken into account. Individuals who demonstrate consistent positive behavior over a significant period are preferred. Third, assessment of rehabilitation efforts. We will assess the individual's education and training during and after conviction, demonstrating remorse, accountability, and active steps towards positive change. And number 4, ongoing monitoring and support. Approved volunteers will be subject to ongoing monitoring and support to ensure their continued adherence to BCPS standards of conduct and ethics. By adhering to these parameters, we aim to create a welcoming and inclusive environment that prioritizes redemption, rehabilitation, and the opportunity for individuals to make meaningful contributions to our schools and community. So overall, our goal was to make sure that we were having a balanced approach to this. We do believe in equity, second chances, all that, but that's not an unlimited right. You're dealing, especially in the, like we said, the safety and security of our children being the utmost. So we really did try to balance out some things never happen. As they said, we were going to review it. And then if it's within 7 years for more concerning crimes, we're going to look at those too. That's the gist of the whole thing.
I just want to say that I love this. Thank you for doing this policy committee. And I feel like this puts this feels actionable when we talk about, we consider what it means to be a district that values equity and prioritizes the safety of our students. Because that's the spirit of those laws, right? And we also know that the discretion sometimes is important. So I really appreciate the work that you put into this. I have a couple of questions. And one is just an edit. So where we say number 1, for the volunteer position and third party, I shouldn't say or. And then there was another one somewhere in here where we just say volunteer. And so we just want to make sure we consistently say volunteer and/or third party service providers.
Is that number
Where
4?
were you?
I saw number 1 is and.
Yep,
or.
number 1 and/or, and anytime we say volunteer, just say and/or
Yeah.
third party
Okay.
service providers. And then I'm curious, so and this is not knowing how it works. So we hire a community partner, or that could be somebody who does facilities work or something for us too if they're around children, correct? So this is anybody, any vendor that has access to our kids. And if they do work outside of school hours, does it still apply? Okay. So how do we weave that into the process in the beginning? So what's our process for, like, we're taking bids for yada, yada, yada. We accept this bid. Like, I think Justice Fence, right, today was one of the ones he mentioned. So do we at the beginning say, hey, we need the background of all the folks who are going to be here? And then is it like an appeals process if one of those folks don't meet their criteria, so then do they get an application? And do we outline, make it their responsibility to, you know, if you want us to appeal, we need this, we need supporting documentation. These are the areas that we're looking at. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I would just add that this framework could be given to our independent contractors before it could go in their contract before we make a decision to approve that contract. Because I think it's a fair, as much as possible, document to give them guidelines of what we expect for working with our children and staff members.
But before this, do our contractors know? So I know we had to go back and do it because of the change. Ahead, do they know that we do background checks for, is that somewhere in writing where they have an understanding that we expect any contractor who's coming to do work here, these are the guidelines and what's our process?
It kind of goes back to,
Yeah.
it kind of goes back to our board policy too, where background checks will be conducted.
So.
Yeah, but her question is like, is it in the terms and conditions? So we're gonna execute an agreement with this third party vendor. Do the terms and conditions say a background check will be run? And then to your point, we're attaching that document so they're understanding the framework we use to review.
If someone is not approved, right, or certified or whatever, then this is the process if you would like to appeal.
I don't know that I
Can
would
I
start an
ask-
appeals process.
Right. But you know what I'm saying, yeah, review.
I don't know
I
what
was there, so that's part.
I do have a question, because I'm trying to understand, because I think we're getting in the weeds, but I'm trying to understand. Because you mentioned like the justice fence or
Yep.
some business. I don't know, I did not think this was pertaining to, let's say if we got somebody justice fence or somebody that's a grass company that's coming in and working on the grass. I don't think that's.
So
what
that was
this
my
was
original question, does it
intended.
apply to
Yes.
all?
The answer, I thought after I was listening to
Yeah.
you, the
Yeah.
answer is no.
Okay.
So those who are outside of our school grounds that are doing work, this is really for people that are in our school
the
buildings around children. Mostly
Okay.
during the day or in our after school working around children.
Do we have that written somewhere?
In terms of who this
Like who it
is
applies
for,
to?
no.
No, we can add a scope.
It should be
in the
added.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then so does the onus go on the third party service provider to say, hey, we want to use this person and they have this background, like we're gonna submit them for the process? Or is it also a district to check and flag that?
It's on the district when they are in. So for example, all of the people working at Northwestern Springfield on our construction projects have been run through this process.
Okay.
Right? But a fencing company or somebody cutting the
I
grass
understand that part.
does not go through this process.
Mhm.
So, but all of the people who are in our buildings when children are on site go through a background check. They have to submit a
And the
background
district
check.
does those checks.
And
It's-
we
we're
do
not-
those
we're not-
checks.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're verifying it's not the third party vendor saying,
Correct.
we cleared them. Okay,
It used to be,
okay.
Third
That's- I was
party.
curious, yeah.
and now we are running all of the checks ourselves as well, if they are in the presence of children.
Thank you.
Vice President. I need a point at the moment. Okay. I wanted to go back and before trustee Perry, I just wanted to let, and I need a moment here, everyone know that I really appreciate, it's probably, I hope you don't get offended, but I really appreciate having an attorney
Yes.
present, because we all have individual skills, and Catherine, because we met first. And the process when we first met, I mean, I have my field that I operated in, which I have privy to probably more information than others. And this was really difficult for me when we had names. And so I came back and said, we don't need to do names in order for me to be fair and equitable.
Yeah.
Trustee Perry really helped. I'll speak for me. I think.
I would
that
agree too.
Helped us really put this
Yeah.
together. And so I wanted to commend her on that, along
you.
with the superintendent. I also wanted to say this, and I make no bones about it, and I don't apologize for it. Given my background, I happen to used to work for the police department in 26 years, and now I work on the other side, the public defender's office. So I have access to information about certain individuals and people. When we went through this process for me, first and foremost, it was about the safety of our children. I don't care about a crowd being out here, but even though I encourage people to come. The safety of our kids, of our children, will be number one for me, above everything else.
Absolutely.
Second of all, I have always encouraged people to go and come back and work in our community. If anybody's been paying attention, you hear me say that. So when this process came up, it was a challenge because these were people in our community who have made mistakes. Some of those mistakes I considered serious mistakes. So I'm glad we came up with this process. I believe in second opportunities, but my political mind, I wanted this to be public. Also things about the image of the district. So when we came up with this process and we decide on some of these individuals, I want these individuals to know that you have a responsibility to this district, to our children, to this community, that understand not everybody's going to be pleased that some individuals may be working for the district, because Battle Creek is a small community and families tend to interact. So it was a really, really tough decision. But I want those individuals to understand, and I have no problem talking to individuals, but we don't talk to employees. But if they ask me, I will tell them.
Yeah.
You have an individual to represent this district with integrity and with honesty, and to treat our kids fairly and keep them safe no matter whose kid it may be. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
There's some people, they may have assaulted somebody's family member. Their kid may know about that. That's just real. So when we bring these individuals into our school system, I just want them to know they have a responsibility. For sure. Believe in second chances, absolutely. But make no mistake, if you can't live up to that integrity and that's the word I'm looking for, behaviors, setting a good example, you do not deserve to be part of this district. And I hope the superintendent or whomever the party is, get rid of you with a quickness. We do have individuals, like I said, that have made mistakes, and I'm sure I've actually had some people, because an email went out from an individual thanking us, and somehow it got out to the public. And I had some people approach me and say, "Not that person in the district." And I had to say, well, I believe in second chances. Even though you do what you did, you know about this person? Yes, I do. So I'm stating publicly, I want those individuals to know I will stand behind them. But you have a responsibility to educate our kids and to uphold this district. And if you should do anything outside that area to bring disdain upon this district, I will be the first person sitting at this table hollering or talking to the superintendent, telling you,
Yeah.
you need to be out.
And I thank you. I 100% agree with you. And I think that should be the standard for anybody, right? With or without a conviction on your record. So working in my area, I work with people who have not been convicted, right? And who we may have concerns about, correct? So I think for me, this means, do we have standards? I know we do for employees, right? Standards of behavior or and conduct that everybody understands the responsibility when you work with kids. And do we have the same thing for third-party service providers and volunteers so that it's a clear understanding on the expectation? Safety is our priority regardless. Conviction or not, conviction just means we know this about you, right? So I want to make sure that the message is, we don't care your record or not, right? The expectation is priority is safety is a priority for us. And we have expectations for anybody that represents the school district. So do we know if we have standards of like in their
Absolutely.
contractual
Yeah.
agreement, so they know if you violate any of these things, this could happen to you, you can, okay.
Well, one of the things that we're working on, that hasn't been a practice in Battle Creek Public Schools is an employee handbook that actually will outline it's not documented in a clearly, and so that's one of the goals that I have for the HR team this summer.
But this wouldn't apply that wouldn't apply to them. So do we have I have to look at our code of conduct, but is there like a generic code of conduct? So I think about in my workspace. So we have our code of ethics that applies to our employees. Then we have a supplier code of conduct that we give to third parties to say, this is what we expect you to do. So I'm imagining that you're asking for something similar to that. It's a supplier code of conduct that's laying out, these are our expectations of your behaviors when you come here as a third party contractor or a volunteer.
I don't know that that exists off the top of my head, but I feel like this is a good opportunity for us to review our practice and create some new things. So,
And I think if it's consistent with the employee handbook, what it does is it eliminates
Yes.
bias, right?
yes.
Bias for people who may have convictions. That we expect this for anybody. We don't just expect this of you because you have a record. We expect this of anybody who's here, including us as board members. So
I mean, when we talk about employee conduct, it's spelled out in our policy.
Yep.
It's in our board
Mhm.
policy, and I would use the same
Yep.
thing for any contractors. So.
yes.
Dr. Johnson, I appreciate that comment. I really do. But I look at things the way they are, and when I keep things real, records matter. That's just the truth. And people, the perception, our district has always been looked down on. And so my concern, like I said, and I expressed this to our committee, to the superintendent. My concern is, yes, it does apply to everyone, but when you do certain things, those matter to the public, to our reputation, to our district. That's just the way it is. It's just true. So I do appreciate, yes, it does apply to everything, but when you have individuals that demonstrate certain behavior.
Yes, I'm aware. I hear what you're
Okay.
saying. I know that.
Yeah.
I'm saying for us.
Yeah, I got
Right.
you.
Well, and I want to go on record to
Yeah.
say that applies for people with and without record.
Yes.
Like, there is a code of
I think you
conduct.
got to say
I
that.
think that's the number one
Yes.
piece, right? And so when we have employees at EduStaff who are not meeting our expectations, you do not get the right to work with us anymore.
That's the point of.
So there are standards of conduct for everybody,
Yes.
regardless, period.
Yeah.
I will say one thing I thought about, because I was writing down notes of things we need to add. I don't think there needs to be an appeal process for, like, we make a decision on somebody and we're like, no, you are rejected this year or whatever. But I think we do need to be mindful, because I thought of it when you were talking about what if you had one of these serious convictions, it was a long time ago, but somebody's child, grandchild, nephew, whatever, is at a school where this person is placed. What is that person's right to raise their concern and have a review of maybe that person gets placed someplace else, or we're looking at it again? Because we're making this decision blind, right? We
Yeah.
don't know any of the details of the person. But I'm thinking of what happens when it impacts somebody and they're like, I don't feel safe having my kid there with that person
Right.
because of what, I don't care how long ago it was. This has impacted my family forever or whatever, right? So I think we may need to put something in there related to that too. Like, what does that process look like? And I'm thinking they raise public comment and then the committee needs to talk about it, but I think that should be put in here somewhere.
And I think out, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Carter, some of that happens already for cases that have not been, right? Like, there hasn't been a formal conviction, but the streets know.
You're right.
Right? So there are families
raise
with
that
conflict
concern
who
to the
say, you know, my kid's going to school with the person that, so we might even have already kind of a way of working that out when there's a request, but it probably would be helpful to.
So I'm kind of trying to separate the two, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Chrissy, I know what you're trying to accomplish, but this really is about, the board policy says that if you want to work in our district, you have to go through blah, blah. Now, if there are other issues that need to be raised, it currently works where you just raise it to the district office and to the superintendent, and then, we can make some decisions operationally about what happens from there. So rather than formalize it, I don't think you need to take that on because there's more than enough of that happening on a regular basis. And I don't want to have to try to pull y'all together on that.
I'm talking about for specific people where we approve their
Yes.
conviction.
Here.
So we said, yes, you
These are
can come
very
in
limited, yes.
and then
somebody-
this person says, well, I don't want them working with my child. Well, they could still bring that forward to the board, to the superintendent, which I can then have the discretion of moving them around.
Okay.
President, thank you for indulging me. I know it was long-winded, but like I said, I got approached because an email came out and I hadn't read the email, but I got approached by some individuals and I was like, okay, let me read the email. And then once I saw it, I go.
Trustee
I'm going
McClenny,
to address.
I appreciate that honesty and that's something that we didn't anticipate, but
Right.
with this framework, we have an objective process that will
Yeah.
guide this board for carrying on going forward, and we didn't have it 2 weeks ago or 3
Right.
weeks ago. So I appreciate the ability to have input on this framework because it makes sense. We want it to be transparent. That's why we're taking that discussion right now. And it's just where it had a week ago, it was really hard, but now with this framework, you can go forward and not have a lot on your shoulders to deal with because you know it's spelled out and it's simple, it's concise, and hopefully, and we can always, as a board, make it clearer or add something that needs to be added. But we have a process that really helps us out a lot.
And if I could just quickly ask another question to the point of like being grateful for having it. As soon as I knew this was coming up, I was like, oh, thank goodness. I hope Nicole's committee. But I think that answered the question you asked several board meetings ago, like, is there ever a time where we consult a board member based on their expertise? Now, in
yeah.
this case, you were actually on the committee, so it worked out. But if you weren't,
Right.
it's okay. Is it okay for us to sort of reach out and say, hey, this is your area?
We're thankful.
Yes.
So I want to summarize the notes I took for edits or additions. So there were a couple things where we needed to make sure we were consistent saying and or third party service provider and or volunteers. And then we need to add a scope to the beginning of the document that says who this applies to. And when I was hearing from Dr. Carter is that it is the people who will be on site with our students. And then we need to add a note, because we didn't put in here that we are doing this without names or identifying factors of the people. Just so people are aware that we're making a blind review. And then, I also had a note, no appeals process. That was just
Right.
me making that decision. So I don't know if everybody agrees with that.
I was just
but when you
calling it
add-
appeals, but it's
Yeah.
not real appeals.
That's,
It's okay.
that's what the committee.
Okay. And then also putting in there that, just a note around how we get to getting this detail. I said, board will ask for more information review using this framework as a guideline. So if, like you said, you're presenting that to a, third party to say, hey, this is the information. If we're reviewing this and we're like, we need to know more information for this person, we will ask. Yeah. Usually it goes through the executive assistant to do that. Okay, so I'll make did I miss anything?
No.
Good job.
Oh,
You
good
made a
job,
good
yeah.
job.
Great
Okay.
discussion, everybody. Let's go on to C, Battle Creek Board Collective. So as you saw with my email a few weeks ago, I met with three presidents of Harper, Lakeview, and Penfield. We discussed potentially having a joint board meeting with a discussion topic of something of our choosing, maybe hosted by the CISD or MASB. But at our next meeting, April 10th, we want to bring together all of our decisions from or ideas from each board on potential topics or speakers. So my ask is, does anyone have a topic or speaker that you guys might be interested in that I can bring back to the other three presidents? I think last time when we had this, it was like my first year on the board, and the topic or the main topic was DEI. So we definitely don't want to do that again because we've already done that before. But is there anything, and this is just brainstorming ideas of anything that might be worth all four districts talking about, learning about, having a speaker, having a presentation from MASB.
I
wonder-
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Nathan, 'cause I've been talking a lot.
Sure.
I'll go after you.
I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think of things that impact cross-district stuff a lot, right? I think like transiency and truancy and how that relates in a city with so many, borders are so funny. We get people that are constantly moving. We all know this between districts, and I know there's been a lot of work already between superintendents to like curriculums, great stuff, but like how does, how just maybe for the public know more about how that operates too, and for us.
So I was just gonna say, when I went to the state of the business community or whatever we did with the chamber, the common thread for all the districts was chronic absenteeism. So I think that would be a good one. All of them share that they're all struggling with chronic absenteeism. So maybe some best practices and a discussion about how to help in this city in general. How do we support that need?
A topic
Maybe-
that I would add is something to do with mental health, with maybe a focus on helping our community understand the dangers of vaping. I find this topic a lot at the Student Health Advisory Committee meetings that Grace Health has at our Springfield clinic, as well as the Battle Creek Central Clinic. And vaping has come on the scene in the last 5 years that a lot of people don't realize the dangers of vaping and its long-term consequences.
Like that as well. I've noticed recently there's been an increased push in local gas stations for vaping products. Like over the last week, I've seen new signs being popped up saying vape pens here. You walk inside, there's huge displays. They're brand new. They just popped up in the last couple of weeks, all right in the north side area here. So it's been a big problem. It's continuing to be a bigger problem for sure. I like that, Catherine. Thank you.
I don't have any ideas, Charlie. I'll just say I wish you luck. Well, we tried this before. And I'm not being a dead downer, but we really tried this. And I'm just gonna say good luck.
Well,
hope it
I
works.
wasn't part of the
We
planning
tried.
last time, so
And
we're gonna
this is
do
why I'm
it.
telling you,
Pandemic.
good luck. Good luck.
But I
Thank
think it's
you.
important for our
Yeah.
region because we do love kids. And we're trying to have the ability, the strategies, the opportunities for all of our students. And to know that we, as 4 districts, that's pretty wonderful to get that started again. We need to communicate. We need to network. And so good luck and thanks for asking for ideas.
I think my suggestion would be if you want to get a speaker from MASB, since there were so many updates and changes legislatively.
Hmm.
Maybe getting somebody to talk about those and how
Mhm.
those are impacting districts, because that'll impact all of our districts, right?
Right.
So maybe they can speak to those changes that have come through with just this last, they'll be going to effect soon, probably, if not already. So maybe they can talk about that.
Thank you all so much.
Superintendent, did you have an
ideas.
idea around the chronic absenteeism?
Well, I was thinking, attendance works, like inviting, because you asked about a speaker, but inviting the National Organization of Attendance Works to talk about a community response to chronic absenteeism. Because we're doing all we can, but what would they tell us about a community-wide response? What does that look like? So,
Do you know the name? You said national speaker.
from Attendance Works,
Okay.
it's a national organization.
Got it. Thank you all so much. All right, public comment. Do we have any public comments? Thank you. Moving on to superintendent comments.
Okay, well, guess what? March is reading month. It's my favorite month. And I've already seen a number of reading competitions and celebrations that will kick off this month. I encourage you, as a school representative, to reach out to your schools. They are all doing guest readers, those kinds of things, and think about how you might tap in for reading month. But also our schools work hard to get students excited about reading and to keep them engaged. And so as a reminder, we're encouraging every student to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes reading at home each day, as well as help them develop into amazing readers and learners. I've been asking all of the community members that I meet with, especially our faith-based leaders, when they see students, to ask them, what are you reading? And so I encourage you to do the same, so that we can create this district-wide culture of literacy. I also want to make sure that our families know that this week we opened up applications for our 2 incredible summer learning experiences. We call them learning experiences intentionally because while the primary focus is to provide academic enrichment over the summer to help prevent that summer slide, we have an amazing group of principals, teachers, and other administrators, along with our partners from 21st Century and KidNet, that are working to help plan a fun-filled experience for students. We don't want it to look like the regular school day, so we have lots of other activities that are happening while also intervening on the academic side. So if you have a student that's enrolled in kindergarten through 11th grade, they can sign up for free Bearcat Blast summer learning that occurs in the summer, and it has been an amazing program. I also want to remind people, students who will be turning 5 by September 1, they're encouraged to participate in our free kindergarten success program. And KSP is focused on preparing students academically and socially for kindergarten and has helped increase kindergarten readiness by 300% in this community. So just think that impact of that program has been a significant return on investment. And so I encourage all families who have students who are turning 5 by September 1 to seek enrollment into that program. Finally, Fremont and BC STEM have applications that are open. The deadline for Fremont and BC STEM is coming up soon. So if you're interested in attending one of those schools, you can find it on battlecreekpublicschools.org/schools. The deadline is Friday, April 5th. So be sure to apply soon. I'm going to end with a celebration of a couple of our board members and announce that Charlie Fulbright has reached master board member level 4 and will be recognized at the awards dinner. And Patty Poole Gray is level 4 master board member, who also received advocacy skills specialty. And so congratulations to those two board members for their,
Yay, exactly.
Welcome to the club.
thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments.
If
Trustee
I,
LaValle?
if I could.
Thank you, trustee.
I'm gonna ask,
I'm off to a meeting too. I
Okay,
need to
go
be
ahead.
going. So this
Go
is
ahead.
kind of real quick and I appreciate that. March is March Youth Art, and there's a contest put on by the Battle Creek Optimist Club, a contest known as Optimist Excellence in Art. It's open to Calhoun County students in grades K through 12th grade. The celebration of the showcase of the items will take place at Lakeview Square Mall on the dates of April 21st through the 26th. And registration is due for that event by March 20th. So I'll also mention it next week as well. Also, another wonderful tradition, our Art Center of Battle Creek is hosting the Class Act show that is starting last Saturday, March 9th, and will go through March 30th. Our Art Center is free to attend, as well as they showcase students' artwork in grades, hopefully kindergarten through 12th grade. The Art Center is open Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I want to congratulate the Battle Creek Central Robotics first ever event on robotics held at our Battle Creek Central on March 1st through the 3rd. I was out of town. I would have loved to attended a little bit of it, but so exciting to see the students, and over 40 schools came into the Battle Creek Central gym to have a robotics competition. And I hope that still continues in the years to come. And finally, last reminder, probably next to the last reminder, Hall of Fame tickets need to be bought by April 1st. That celebration of the Battle Creek Central Hall of Fame will take place the last Saturday in April 2024. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Trustee McCartney?
Thank you. Real quick, I was gonna mention the Hall of Fame. I got a message that's out there. Real quick, to my barbershop crew, which is where I get my information. I noticed at the last board meeting, and we talked about this, I wasn't here, but the audience was full. I'm going to encourage those same group of people to come back and fill our audience. I encourage the community to come. I had this conversation, I'm going to be quick because I want to go to the concert, but I had this conversation with a group of young men, at my age and a little younger, and I keep encouraging them to come to the board meeting. I get these questions at the barbershop. Hey, how come this? How come that? Come to the board meeting. I encourage you. You need to be here. And I'm going to stop because I am ready to go, but please come to the meeting. And I did address some of the concerns that you had. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Well, the last thing I'll say then is not only is March National Reading Month, it's also National Women's Month. And last Friday was International Women's Day, which is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. So I personally want to celebrate in the achievement and dedication of our executive assistant, Kawita Smith, Trustee LaValle, Trustee Dr. Johnson, Trustee Nicole Perry, Superintendent Dr. Carter, and President Patty Poole Gray for your tireless work in our district. Great things are happening